Well, as you can see, I've got the truck in here. I've got her jacked up, and I think it's time to start working on some of the front end. Not so much the way it looks, but the hard parts here where it handles. That's the important thing. And there are a few issues I got to look at. One is the lower ball joint, I believe, on this side. Can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's this side. And also the radius arm bracket. You can see a little bit of the rust there, but it's really bad. So I've got another one of them, and I've got new ball joints, and there's some U-joint issues. Take care of that. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm sure I'll end up with a bunch more parts I'm going to have to get before this thing is over. But we'll yank it apart and see what we got going on. Well, I believe this is the side I need to replace the ball joint in, so go ahead and check this out. I've got quite a bit of movement there, so I think she's no good. We're going to have to get that one replaced. And I suppose I'll do the top one while I'm there, because I'm going to have to take the whole thing apart anyway. It's a good opportunity for me to look at all the four-wheel drive stuff as well while I'm in there. So I guess first things first, we'll pop that wheel off. Looks like I need a new stud. Pop that wheel off, and then start breaking in the four-wheel drive stuff so I can take that whole unit out. Alright, now that I got the wheel off, I suppose I should start with the brakes. Get that caliper off of there. They're covered in mud and bugs, and it's going to be a fun project. Ooh. Not really thrilled with the look of that brake hose. Or that brake line. Yep, I got that tire off and I'm already finding more problems, but that's alright. We'll just pound these pins out and get this caliper out of the way and hang it up. And I'll go see about some hoses, I suppose. Maybe we'll do that too. Ah, that is dirty. Yeah, I'll probably need new brake pads too. They're not looking the best. Ooh, looking pretty rough. Yeah, new brake pads, new brake hose. Haven't even got the rotor off yet, and we're already down to that. Well, since I'm replacing the brake hose anyway, I'll just let her hang. Usually I'd tie it up, but I don't think it matters now. Alright, on to the four-wheel drive. Looks like we got torque stuff to take off, and then we can get this off. That's not good. Man, this thing is filthy. The rotor's so packed with crap that it's that far out of balance. And she don't sound real good. I don't think the bearings are too happy in there. So I probably need bearings as well. Yeah, I can feel the play in it. Well, I suppose I'll see if I can get this off, and we'll dig further into it. Alright, I got a T25 and I've rigged it up to a 1/4 inch socket so I can get a little bit of leverage. See if I can turn these things. See if I can break them loose or not. Oh yeah. It's kind of hard to do with just a screwdriver, but this ratchet seems to work pretty well. Yeah, that's disgusting. Well, there's a ring there holding that spring on, so I'm going to have to knock that ring off. And I should be able to get that out. It's under quite a bit of tension here, so it's kind of tricky to hold it back enough. There we go. Aha, I think I found it. This little doohickey. There we go. Kind of new to 4-wheel drive. I don't do much of it, so it's all a learning experience. Learn as I go. Learn with you guys, I guess. Alright, we got that off. Now, I've got going to need a spanner wrench, I do believe, to get that out of there, and I don't have one, so this should be interesting. Not sure how tight it is. Well, I'm pretty much at a point where I'm not going to be able to get any further. I pulled this little clip out of there, and I used a couple of hook picks to knock that out. It was kind of a pain, but I got her. And now there is a little spacer I'm going to yank out with a magnet. I'm going to try to yank it out with a magnet. And then pretty much after this, I need a spanner wrench, which I don't have. So I'm kind of stuck until I get one of them, I think. Well, I managed to get the tool I needed. It's a spanner with 2 prongs. Could have got one with 4, but this will go on more different nuts, so figured we'd go with this one. And I already broke it loose, so now we just got to get it out of there. And now that that's out of there, we should be able to take that whole thing off. Hopefully. Well, I spoke too soon. There's another nut in there. There we go. Now she'll come out. one of the bearings. The other one's in the back there. We'll have to take the seal out to get that one out. But there we go. We're this far. Now I got to get the spindle out of the way. Alright, I've sprayed all these nuts down and scraped them off with a wire brush, so hopefully they'll come off without breaking the studs. Well, there's one. Well, now comes the fun part. If your truck isn't as rusty as mine, you can probably knock this spindle off with a soft-faced dead blow hammer. But my truck is way too rusty, so that's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a chisel. I'm going to clean up all around here and then wedge a chisel behind the top here. And once I get it cracked open, I can take a chisel on both sides, run it down, and get that thing to pop off. So that's what I'm going to do. It's probably going to take a while. Well, that was a nightmare, but it's off. And now I can go ahead and pull the axle out. Alright, let's see if we can get this axle out of here. Looks like I might have to pull this ring that used to be the dust shield out of the way. There we go. Yeah, there's a good bit of play in that U-joint. It's going to have to get replaced too. Now the passenger side axle is a little bit different, but the only real difference is you got to cut a clamp off of this boot, and then you'll be able to slide the boot and the axle out the same way as the driver's side. Alright, now that I've got the axle out of the way, the fun begins. I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up having to cut this nut, cut a slit in it, and chisel it off because I can't even see the threads. It's pretty well rusted on there. And I don't think an impact's going to do it. And I don't have a torch to heat it up or cut it off with, so I'm going to cut it off with an angle grinder. And I'll try with the impact, but I don't think it's going to work. So let's grab the angle grinder, get that ready, and I'll hit it with the impact, see what happens. Well, like I thought, the impact didn't even make a dent in this thing, so I'm going to have to cut her off. So I got the grinder, and we'll just see if we can find a good spot to knock a hole in it. Yeah, it'll work. I'll have to cut into this bottom piece a little bit, but that's okay. Well, there we go. I got it to turn a little bit. Well, there we go. I was hoping to be able to split the nut and just peel it off, but you know, whatever works, I guess. I got her off, so now I got to do the bottom one. Alright, I got this lower ball joint nut off, and what I had to do with this one was actually take a Sawzall and slice it down the middle, and then knock off the two chunks with the chisel there. You can see there's half of it right there. And rather than use a regular Sawzall blade, which would probably dull on the hardened steel pretty quick, I've got a carbide grit one. Takes a little bit of time, but cuts through it. Knock that off. Now I've got to take this nut off, and I'm actually going to have to drill the cotter pin out. I've started kind of making a hole there, but I'm going to grab the impact, and that should come off. And then I'll drill that out, and then knock the tie rod off. Then we can start popping this whole knuckle off. Well, unfortunately, rather than breaking loose, the tie rod has decided to spin. So I've got a little propane bottle. We'll give her a shot heating her up, because I would like to save that tie rod just because I don't have any on hand and I'd like to put this together. But if it doesn't work, I'll have to get a new tie rod. Well, it looks like this truck is going to fight me the whole way. A little bit of heat I could add to that nut wasn't enough. It just spins the whole tie rod in there. So I'm going to have to cut it off like I did the ball joints. Just grind it off and chisel it away. But before I do that, since I need to replace the tie rod, I'm going to see if I can get that stuff freed up. Because if not, then I got to go further, I suppose. Alright, I got the nut cut off the tie rod, and the tie rod popped out. So now I get to have fun whaling on this thing with a pickle fork. And I only have one that's big enough to get in there to actually pop it loose, so I'm probably going to have to alternate between top and bottom, but we'll give it a shot and see what we can do. Well, I guess that tie rod tool sucks. Well, luckily I have more ends that can screw into this pickle fork, so all hope is not lost yet. There we go. She's out. Guess that wasn't so bad. Well, I guess that's how bad the ball joint was. Popped her right out of the socket. Didn't even budge it from here, so now I gotta see if I can get that out. Man, I tell you, this thing's just fighting me every step of the way. But I got the knuckle off, so now I can press those ball joints out. Alright, now that I've got the knuckle out, what I have to do first thing is on this lower ball joint there's a snap ring, and I have to chisel that out of there. It should break free with the chisel. I guess we'll just give it a try and find out. Of course, the way this truck has been fighting me, you never know. There we go. That wasn't so bad. Now I'm going to set up my my ball joint tool and we'll get her off of there. Alright, let's see if we can get this thing knocked out. There we go. She's out. And now we're set up to do the top one. I had to get the bottom one out so that I could pass the threaded rod through that part to get to it, so bottom one's got to come out first. Let's see if the top one will come out. And that's two out. Alright, we've got the old ball joints out, and now we're ready to put the new ones in. I've cleaned up the lands a little bit so that the new ball joint will sit flush in there. You may be able to see it. There's a couple of little nicks here from when I took the other bearing or the other ball joint out from my tool. The threads kind of mashed against there, but I think that'll be okay. And I'm going to do the bottom one first, so that when I put the tool in, I can put the threaded end this way and push her in. So I'm just going to go ahead, see if I can get this thing started somewhat straight by hand, and then I'll install my tool and we'll drive her in. Alright, I got my tool installed. Let's see if she'll go in. Alright, it looks like it's seated all the way. Now I can put my snap ring on the back side here, and then we can put the top one in. Alright, snap ring's in. Now we'll just do the top one pretty much the same way as we did the bottom one. Well, I've got the knuckle hanging on there again, and I think I'm going to cut the video here, because putting it together is pretty much the same as taking apart, just a lot less grinding and cutting and hammering and breaking tools. So the one thing I will note is, if you're going to use new U-joints in your axle, you may have a problem getting it to fit in, because the new U-joints are a little bit different, so they won't just push in. And that's because if you look at the caps on the new ones, there's not much of a chamfer on top, but on the old ones they've got a nice chamfer on them, and that's so you can get them in there. So what I'm going to do is just grind a little bit off each cap on each side, just enough to get this U-joint to slide in, and that should take care of it. Shouldn't hurt anything, just taking just a little bit off the top. And I think I'm going to do the wheel bearings in another video, so if you want to know how to do those, I'll post a link to that video when I get it done and upload it. So that should be it for this project. Hopefully it all works.